she pronouns, and I will be interpreting with my partner Elle today.
And we also have Itiba on our team who's translating the chat today and ensuring that our chat box is accessible across languages as well.
Y también tenemos a Itiba en nuestro equipo que está traduciendo la caja de charla hoy para asegurar que nuestra caja de charla sea accesible a través de los idiomas también.
And so in a moment, we will use the Zoom interpretation feature today, and in a moment the host will activate the interpretation function. For those of you using computers, you'll see a globe icon on the bottom of your screen with the word interpretation. You'll click on it and choose your language, whether that's English or Spanish. And if you're joining via smartphone or tablet, you'll look for 3 dots that say more, and you'll click on it, and that will prompt a list. And you'll click on language interpretation and then choose English or Spanish and then click on done. And you can also click mute original audio to raise the sound of the interpretation and lower the sound of the original speaker.
Entonces usaremos la función de interpretación por Zoom hoy. En unos momentos los anfitriones encenderán la función de interpretación. Si está conectada en su computadora, verán un globo que aparecerá en la parte posterior en su pantalla que dirá interpretación. Haga clic en este icono y seleccione su inglés o español. Si está conectada por celular inteligente o tableta, busque 3 puntitos que dicen más, presiónelo. Esto le lleva a una lista, presione donde diga interpretación de idiomas, escoja inglés o español y presione finalizar. Presione Mute Original Audio, poner en mudo el audio original para aumentar el volumen de la interpretación y bajar el volumen del orador original.
So when you talk orally, please speak clearly and slowly. If you're speaking too fast or too softly and we can't hear you, we will write on the chat and ask you to speak slower and louder. We may also turn on our video and do this hand signal, asking you to speak slower.
Y en la que ustedes están platicando y estamos traduciendo yo y él, si necesitamos que ustedes hablen un poquito más despacio, vamos a hacer este símbolo para señalar que necesitamos que vayan más despacio.
Please also speak one person at a time. As interpreters, we don't want to be put in the position of having to choose which voice we're going to privilege over another or which person to privilege over another. So please use one mic, one person at a time.
Y por favor, cuando estén hablando, que sea una persona a la vez para no tener que privilegiar una voz sobre la otra y nos hace el trabajo más fácil a él y a yo para poder traducir una persona a la vez.
If you're having any issues with interpretation, let us know in the chat or send a message to Talia, if that's possible, so that we can support you.
Y si hay algún problema con la interpretación, por favor, mándenos un mensaje por el chat o si no a Talia para que podamos apoyarle a usted.
And so now Talia will turn on the interpretation feature, assign Quetzali and I as interpreters, and everyone will choose their language channel.
And since you can't hear us, because Quetzali has already been assigned as interpreter, creo que estaba diciendo que, bueno, ahora ya hemos encendido la función de interpretación, así que si por favor escojan su idioma y así ya empezamos con el evento. Gracias.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, El, Quetzali, and Atiba for all of your translation and interpretation services today. We're so grateful to have you help make TIES more accessible today. So welcome to the 2020 Transgender Information and Empowerment Summit, better known as TIES. This is our 7th conference and the first one that we've held digitally and the first that we've held over multiple days. And we are so excited to have you all here. I'm the Executive Director from Equality Virginia, B. Lamnick, and I use they and them pronouns. From the entire EV family, welcome. We are absolutely thrilled to be able to kick off Ties with this keynote titled From Stonewall to a Black Trans Future, a keynote discussion with Miss Major Griffin-Gracy. This conversation will be facilitated by Mr. Lee Dyer. First, we're going to have just a few more housekeeping items. Just like the interpreter said, please click on the globe button and select your language. Both English and Spanish dominant participants need to select their language so that you're able to fully participate. This session will also have closed captions in English. Simply click the closed caption button and the show subtitles to see them. They may pop up as a separate box or be shown at the bottom of the screen. You can also see a transcript by pressing the transcript option. We ask that you please drop your questions into the Q&A box. Please know that Ms. Major may not be able to get to everyone's questions until the end, but I know that Lee will help facilitate that conversation and get as many questions answered. Additionally, please also feel welcome to use the chat box if you have any technical difficulties. We've got a couple of wonderful folks, Talia and Lauren, are here to help if you run into any issues. So now that we've addressed all of these important logistical items, I want to express my heartfelt thanks to the many, many people who made Ties possible this year. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Capital One, to our collaborative sponsors, Seaville Pride and Whitman Walker, for their generous financial support, which helps keep Ties free for all of our attendees. Thank you also to the incredible staff of Equality Virginia, Andi, Mario, Kylie, and especially Talia, our program director, for all of your hard work and dedication to this event. Thanks also to our board of directors, our many volunteers, community partners, and interpreters for supporting Ties and for making Ties more accessible. Thank you, thank you. This year, Ties has 4 keynote sessions featuring Black, trans, and non-binary community and change makers discussing a wide variety of topics from prison abolition to organizing to Black trans liberation. We hope that you will sit with their perspectives, challenge yourself to listen deeply, and find ways to take action. In the deadliest year on record for Black trans women, this is a necessity as we all must work to intervene. Black trans lives matter. We must all do our part to uplift the work of Black, trans, and non-binary leaders who time and again have led our community forward. Last week, our community lost a powerful figure, Monica Roberts, who was a renowned Black trans female journalist who broke barriers, practiced radical hospitality, and advocated for her people. She ultimately became a trailblazer for Black and trans media coverage. At this critical time, when a new world abolishing systems of white supremacy is not just imaginable, but possible, we must ground ourselves in the wisdom of our elders, like Miss Major and Monica Roberts, and take inspiration from the radical energy of our youth. So I am very, very honored and very excited that we'll be able to hear from Miss Major today, a true icon. And but first I'm going to introduce Lee, who will then introduce Miss Major. So Mr. Lee Dyer works as an associate director of LGBTQ campus life at the University of Richmond in their Common Ground office, where he centers social justice and equity and LGBTQ inclusion in his work. He holds a BA in political science from Dillard University and a master's in public administration from North Carolina Central University. Outside of University of Richmond, he is an executive board member for Side by Side, and he is a proud member of Alpha Omega Kappa Fraternity Incorporated, a fraternal organization for men of trans experience. In all of his work, Mr. Dyer strives to create opportunities to enrich the lives of people with marginalized identities, and I am so glad to have him here help facilitate this conversation. And with that, I'll kick it right over to you, Lee.
All right, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. And I had the honor of introducing the legendary Miss Major Griffin-Gracy. Miss Major Griffin-Gracy is a Black transgender activist who has spent 5 decades working to create a better world for her chosen family of trans and gender nonconforming people. Nicknamed the grandmother of the trans revolution by her trans daughter, Janet Mock, Ms. Major is a veteran of the infamous Stonewall riots, a former sex worker, and a survivor of New York's Dannemora prison and the infamous Bellevue Asylum. Ms. Major's fierce commitment and intersectional approach to justice, brought her to work as a caretaker for people during the earliest years of the HIV/AIDS crisis, to go back into prisons as a mentor, to support trans and gender nonconforming people targeted by the US prison system, and most recently, to form the House of Gigi in Little Rock, Arkansas, a retreat center and leadership program for Black, trans, and gender nonconforming activists in the South. Other upcoming creative projects include executive producing the film Trans in Trumpland, coming to streaming platforms in fall 2020, and a collaborative book about her activism written with her assistant, Toshio, that comes out in summer 2021 on Verso Books. Let's everybody give a hand, a virtual hand wave, and let's welcome Miss Major. Okay. Virtual hand waves is always so awkward. Thank you so much for being here. And it's such an honor to get to have this conversation today. And before, just to give you the format, I'm going to ask some questions for us to have a dialogue, and then I'll take some questions from the chat box for the Q&A. And so before we get into the questions, I just want to know, how are you doing? Because you're looking very lovely this morning.
I'm feeling good. I'm here early in the morning, so I'm ready.
Awesome. Sorry, I covered my camera. Sorry to disappear in that. Okay.
Right.
Well, knowing much about you, we both share a passion for advocacy, especially as it pertains to folks that are incarcerated. Me, myself, I have a father who was serving a life sentence for wrongful conviction in Louisiana State Penitentiary. But can you tell us about how your experience of incarceration informed your advocacy?
Well, my experience started with, of course, I got arrested for prostitution first, and then that just led to other things. And what really galled me was the fact that we couldn't wear what we wanted to wear. You could get arrested for wearing, not having a suit, say, with the title on it of what your birth was. And so that, really did excite me. I didn't really get into the politics of it until Attica. And that really started me going. I got to meet Big Black and other guys who had started that revolution. And from then on, it became a mission of mine to make sure that the girls in there and the fellas there got to deserve at least what they deserve. So it was hard.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Sure.
In addition, we know that you founded the House of Gigi, which is so awesome. But what inspired your involvement with the Transgender and Gender Variant Intersex Justice Project? And how did you get to the place where you founded House of Gigi?
Well, I was in California first, and I ran the TGIJP. And when I retired from that, I felt as if I needed to rest. And so I was going to look for some place to set up shop and just chill. But I noticed that a lot of the girls really were suffering here. They weren't getting their fair share, So I moved here to Little Rock, and I started working toward getting this house. And the house is for girls that are really tired of of doing the work, and they need a respite, and they need to get the group together. And so it started like that. And then it turned into, it's been a dream of mine for years. So starting this really did get me going a second time. So that's what get me going.
Awesome.
Yeah.
For many LGBTQIA individuals, we know that sometimes our birth families cannot be the best space for us. Safety and sometimes those situations can lack love. Can you tell us a little bit about how you embrace the idea of chosen family in your life and in your work?
That's hard. The family that you're given, a lot of times they really can't adjust to the fact that you want to change your birth. And so it became a really antagonistic kind of situation. I left Chicago, and in New York, I found the people who was meant to be in my life. And from there, it's with one person introduce you to another, and you wind up meeting the right people in your life. And it's important that you pay attention to who you meet, because you never know when someone's going to be there for you or not. And they were there, you could count on them, you could depend on them, and that was important. And so it began there,
So I'm just gonna do a check-in just to see if there are any questions in the Q&A.
Sure, of course.
Because I definitely want to weave them into the conversation that we're having.
Okay.
Okay, so at this moment, we don't have any questions, so I'll just continue asking questions. But for anyone that wants to ask a question, please put in the Q&A, and I will go ahead and weave it into the conversation. Okay, we have a question coming in. So the question, Ms. Major, is when do you stop educating your family and move on to finding a new chosen family?
Educating your family is a full-time job. If you're interested in doing that, it is continual, and slowly but surely they make steps. And then while you're doing that, you work on meeting and getting together with the people who are with you. It's not easy to do, and you do it because it's the right thing to do. You don't do it because it's a sense of duty, or you feel that you owe them this. You have to decide when to cut it off, and that is your decision. And when you make it firm.
Thank you for that wisdom. And just to let folks know that you don't necessarily, as you put your questions into the box, they don't necessarily have to be with the topic or the question that I'm asking, but want to make sure that we get everyone's questions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so we have a question coming in from Kimberly. It says, I live in Arkansas and have actually met the beautiful Ms. Major. What are some ways that we can get involved and help Ms. Major with her advocacy?
Well, right now with this COVID thing, I need help. Little things have to be done, but in donating to the fund that's here to keep this going, because we think this COVID thing will end next year. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping it'll end by at least, say, January, February. But in the event that it doesn't, we want to keep the house open so that people can come here and meet and get to know people. Right now, it's hard to say what can help us keep it going, but try, donate to it, offer your help, and do what you can.
To the conversation moderators, is there any way that we can get a link for the House of GG put somewhere in the chat so people can have that information? Okay. Then our next question that came in is, where do you see the future of the trans justice movement, and what resources are needed to make this a reality?
Oh God, where it's going, I can't say. This woman that they are rushing to put on the Supreme Court is a worry. she is not in our corner at all. We have to continue to fight, you know. We must get up in the morning and set our goals on that. We can't not let it rest. We fought too hard and too long, too hard to let it go. We have to continue to fight forward. And in doing so, you have to find organizations and things and people who believe in us and then join them and fight for us, because we can't do it alone. You know, we're at the bottom of the barrel. You know, we're holding it up. So we have to fight for it. We need to struggle and pull together and make sure that they don't let go of us.
Now, continuing on the theme of advocacy, we have a question and it is, do you think that things are changing for people who are incarcerated? What advocacy work is most important at this time?
Well, things aren't changing that fast. They are changing slowly. They want to start certain prisons that advocate for the gays and the lesbians and the so forth and so on. But in actuality, they're not changing. What they're doing is turning it over to these private concerns, and then it's business as usual, you know. So we've got to write letters. We've got to keep in contact with the people, because it's awfully important that you receive something sometime from someone, you know, whether you know them or not. It's important that you do that so that they don't feel as if they can just count you off, you know, do what they will to you, because you don't have anybody on the outside of that big wall to advocate for you.
Well said, well said. So we have a question in from Charlie Burton, and Charlie says, "Hello, Ms. Major. First, it is an honor to be on our Black Trans Man Summit with you. As an elder Black trans man in Virginia, what can I continue to do to help elders? I don't want to leave the young people out, but as older trans people, I'm finding many emotional, lonely trans people of color."
Lonely doesn't even touch this. it's what it is, you know. We don't have a lot of elders in this group, you know. I guess the average age is 30 something. And if you're lucky enough to make it past that, then you do, but you don't have the social skills. You don't have young people that are willing to get to know you, have sex with you, be a part of your life, you know. So if that is your interest, do keep it up, you know. And for young people, get them to realize that we're just people, you know. Our needs are the same as theirs. Our wishes are the same, you know. I thought, well, as I got older, I would lose some of that. But you don't, you know, you still fervently hold on to it. So.
All right. See. Another question came in. As someone who has been a part of many different related struggles, do you have any thoughts you'd like to share about difficulties or triumphs of working with people who may only be allies sometimes?
Well, you know, that's the thing about allies. You know, they're there when they have to be or they need to be. And you have to accept them at that stage. You can't make somebody want to take the cry and run up the hill, you know. Maybe they could only go half the distance, but it's every little bit helps. Every time someone wants to carry it forward, then you let them, you know. You can't say, give them your energy to fight this, you know. And that will do, you know, it'll make it. Because there's another person out there who goes the distance, go farther, you know.
Combination of meeting people where they are and then sometimes needing accomplices versus allyship.
You got to, you know. You got to meet them where they're at.
So we have another question. It is, do you feel that the current Black Lives Matter movement reflects the needs of the Black trans community?
No, but with that, you have to understand that Black trans lives matter.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do. And if Black Lives Matter, you got to realize that you're Black first. And then in your Blackness, you are trans. So Black trans lives do matter. And then create separate groups, you know, groups that work with them, not apart from them, but work with them. But don't let go. Don't let go.
And that's right. Gotta keep the fight.
Yeah.
So we have a question here from the amazing Ja Akande, and it says, Ms. Major, thank you for spending time with us and for sharing your insight and wisdom. For those of us who, like you, chose to take a justice-centered approach to our lives, what tips do you have for promoting sustainable activism in one's life? How do you avoid burnout, and any tips that you have for self-care?
Well, self-care is important. That's why the house got started, to help people get over that self-care, to learn to do it all the time. And with burnout, try not to let yourself get too far gone. You can get involved in something and be involved in it up to here, but keep in mind that you must slow down and let life live, because you've got to live. There's no such thing as continuing to do this all the time. You've got to make sure that you take the time to enjoy the roses, to enjoy grass growing. Appreciate your life, the lives of others, and then work to put it together.
So I know that one thing that many activists, like myself, sometimes when you need to prioritize yourself or take the step back, you start to feel guilt about leaving the community out. Have you had moments like that, and how have you dealt with moments like that where having that feeling? You
know, I started to have that feeling about, well, they can't make this without me, but realize this one thing, they have been making it for years without you. You came along and had to go through your puberty and go through teenage years and then get grown. What did they do all that time? You know, so don't feel sorry that you're taking a break. Realize that you take a break, you're doing this for you, and when you get through with it, you are energized, ready to go, and you go back to them, ready to fight where you were.
Thank you for that, Ms. Major. So I'm gonna back us up just a little bit. I think this question is referring to the response you gave about the inclusion of Black trans people in the Black Lives Matter movement. And so the question was asked, if you could elaborate on what you mean by being Black first.
being Black, you can't put a label or tell somebody how to be Black. I mean, it has to do with the color of your skin, with how you view the world, with your perception of things that happen to you in your lifetime. You can't say exactly that, well, darker skin is better than light skin, or lighter skin is better because you're more white or whatever. Black isn't that, how do I say it? Black isn't that defined. You know that you're Black because you are, you know. When someone looks at a white girl, say, and she happens to have some Black in her, well, so what? You know, it's a person, if she feels that, and she has seen it, then she's Black, you know. I don't distinguish or try to understand what it is people present to me, but how they come is how I accept them. And that's what you have to do. You have to accept people as they come.
Yeah.
And whatever shade they happen to be.
Yeah. And understanding too that just because you might share an identity with someone, that the experience is not monolithic. And so I think that's a very important piece for us to all take away. So we have a question here from Danielle that says, many of us have found how important a support network is when transitioning today. Do you have a support network, and what was it like? Did you have a support network, and what was it like when you started your transition?
Well, see, when I started, there was nobody that, oh, I wanted to go up to be them. There were certain instances in my life that gave me hope and helped me to realize that I was this person that was in the wrong sex. And as I lived my life and as time went on, I found the community grew in size. It became more and more evident that I was in the wrong body. And it took time to meet the right people, we'll say. And that is what you have to do. You have to go along and live your life, but pay attention to who you have around you, what you're doing for your life. And they will come into your life, certain people change you a little bit and step out of it. Wish them well, you know. And it's hard to say, you know, now there's people that I would think about, oh, I admired them. But at the time that I grew up, there weren't that many people around, you know. But you do find your own way, and you have to think and trust and feel that. And when you do, you know you're on the right path.
And with that being said, I definitely want to thank you for your visibility and representation and advocacy, because I will say with my experiencing I didn't start my transition until I was about 29, but you were one of the first trans people that I learned about. I was working with the Durham LGBTQ Center, and the film Major had just came out. And so I had to make the flyers, and so I had to watch the film before. And so, you know, just thank you for always being available to the community, because representation and seeing, you know, pieces of yourself and seeing the community, that is so very important to the identity development of a person. And so we have another question that just came in from Sean. It says, hello, ma'am. Since we're all so isolated right now, do you have advice on how we can find and uplift each other?
Right now in this pandemic, this Zoom thing is the best way to meet other people. And you can meet them any way you choose, you know. And like this thing that they have now, you can find certain people on here and then contact them and do other Zooms, you know. And that's the best way to do it at the time. When it's over, then come to come to House DGTs.
So we have another question from Jordan. And Jordan says, hi, Ms. Major. We are honored to have you here today. My question for you is, what is some advice would you give your younger self? And what quote do you live by and why?
Oh, cool. Well, the quotes change from time to time, depending upon what started it or got me to think about it. But what got me going in this was, I don't know, you got to trust in people, you know, and that's been my every day. I wake up and I'm anxious to meet new people. So it's a little harder now, but thanks to this thing, I meet the new people. So that's about it, you know.
Gotcha. So we have a quick comment from J.L. Presley. It says, this is not a question, but a thank you. Thank you, Ms. Major, for sitting and talking with me years ago in Davis, California. That conversation sparked a fire in me to fully embrace the man I am today. So,
oh, that's wonderful. I'm glad.
And we have a question that just came in from Al. Al asks, are there any aspects of spirituality that you see to gain strength through your transition / activism?
Through my strength, yes. And the important part about that is that you have to believe in it and believe in yourself. And when you do, the best of life comes to you, you know. And that is awfully, awfully important. And don't let it go, you know. Despite what you have happened to you, it's important that you continue on and be yourself always.
Thank you for those words of wisdom. Okay. And so while people are typing in the chat for some more questions, I'm going to ask a question. Can you share with us your experiences, what your experiences were like as a Black trans woman when you came up in the 1950s, and how have things changed or stayed the same since then?
Well, they've changed in a sense of the laws are different and they're somewhat better, but it's not the world that it needs to be. The woman that they're electing to the board right now is not the way it ought to be, you know. She, them in particular, look at world a little bit different than we do. And it's hard to keep focused on what it is that needs to be. And I guess we have to band together, fight for it, and when we get it, don't let it go. It's hard to see that you are not alone in this, you know. You've got to rally around the people who are in it with you and then fight for it.
Yes, gotta keep that fight going.
Yeah.
So we just had a question come in, and the question is, I work on a college campus and work with a lot of students who are beginning their transition. What recommendations do you have to help them feel heard and supported? And how do we educate the other students on campus who struggle with the unknown / new to them of the situation?
Well, as far as anyone goes who is not known to you, you must let them know that we're just people, and explain that, you know, we see things from a different light. You know, one thing that we have to our advantage is we are multi people. You know, we see the both sides. We see the male and the female. And that is hard to perceive in real life, you know. And so you have to teach them, you have to work with them, you have to show them that not only does it work for you, but that is something that everybody shares in the beginning of life. And so in that, they get to see that everybody starts off the same way, you know. It's when we get older that it separates. And when it separates, thank goodness there's us.
And also too, to the person that asked this question about educating other students about, you know, the new or what's different for them. You know, sometimes when we come at people and we come at like with the science of it or the policy of it, what I have found to be most helpful, especially dealing with college age students, is relating to them about the humanity of each other. Because when you think about how your friend or your peer is affected in a situation, your response tends to be a little different. So I totally agree with you know, with your thoughts on that. We have another question coming in from Paul G, and it says, Monica Roberts, may she rest in peace, was fundamental in recording the history of the Black trans community. How do you suggest we continue to honor her by recording our history?
Wait, okay.
Oh, no problem.
Hold on. Okay. Okay. How do you get comfortable? God damn it. Okay. Run that again.
Not a problem at all. I understand. I'm in a stiff back chair myself. So the question was from Paul G. And Paul says, Monica Roberts, may she rest in peace, was fundamental in recording the history of the Black trans community. How do you suggest we continue to honor her by recording our history?
Well, I'm not much on recording the history of us as trans people, but I've known Monica for years, and I was completely devastated over the news that she died. I feel the best way she is honored is by keeping her alive and talking to people about her, bringing her name up in certain situations. When you have groups that meet together to remember her in those times, and always keep a fresh outlook, because she is so a part of who we are and what we become, and never let it just disappear like that, you know.
Yeah.
It is such a loss.
Yeah, she will be greatly missed. And I do hope that folks that are watching, if you don't know about Monica Roberts, you take some time to educate yourself on her and her work. And for those of us that are in the social justice realm, that we continue to fight the fight and continue to pick up the work where she left off. We have a question that just came in. Hi, Ms. Major. Congratulations on you and your partner's recent announcement of you and your partner's recent announcement of the pregnancy. What are your words of wisdom do you have for others with expecting trans partners?
Oh God. Well, the word I have is to enjoy it. You know, it is such a marvelous thing to have happen. This, to me, this late became early. So, and to relish in it, to enjoy everything this world has to offer. Don't give up the ship or let it go or cast it aside, you know. Enjoy every bit of it. Yeah.
So I have to ask, what are you looking forward to, you know, with the baby come along? Like, what is the thing that you're most excited about?
Holding it. Holding the baby. Oh God, I can't wait to hold it. I haven't had a young God in 42 years. So my son is 42, so he's excited about this too. Yeah.
Yeah, so
holding it is such joy.
but we do know that this baby is coming into a lot of love,
Yeah.
and probably going to be spoiled, but that's
Yes,
great.
he will.
Being spoiled
I'm
and wrapped in love.
Yeah. Ah.
So Jordan just sent us a question. Jordan says, I just started a new job as a trans health service case manager. What is some advice you can give me to gain my clients' trust to ensure they are provided the best service possible?
First of all, you must be consistent constantly. If you say you're going to be somewhere at 2 o'clock, be there at 2. And I don't mean come and be at 2 o'clock. Get there 15 minutes early and stay at least an hour to let them see you there waiting. That is most crucial because you never know who's watching you, who sees you, and who's taking notes, you know. And that will see you through, you know, because consistency is really important. So many times they say, you know, they'll meet you at 1 o'clock and they don't show up. So you must be there and you must wait for them, you know, always.
Okay. So today's discussion we titled From Stonewall to a Black Trans Future. Looking back at Stonewall, looking back at it today, how do you see the role that the Stonewall uprising played into where we are today as the LGBTQIA community?
Okay. Number one, T should not be third on that list.
Gotcha.
It should be T, then the rest of it. I don't understand why that happened. It was taken from us, was wrong about in the first place. But the original fight for the integrity and the abuse that we were suffering was strictly on us, the girls and the guys of that particular time of year. And we suffered behind that. I never understood why it became such a focal point. It changed in the sense of what we were fighting for became all inclusive, everybody. And the gays and lesbians took that from us. The rights for what we were and who we were still is not right. It hasn't evolved enough to get to that point of whereby we're understood and we're accepted as people. But we're fighting for it. We have accomplished quite a bit in that guise. But as for what had happened, the way it went down, we missed the point in a sense. So when I think of Stonewall, it's not a joyful memory. It's really rather sad. And that's it. Yeah.
With that being said, how do you think, because even in the, and what we just talked about with language, with the acronym, with T being first, and trans people do face an erasure in history, and even having a seat at the table as decisions are made that affect our community. How do you think, one, we as trans individuals, how we should take over our movement, and two, what needs to be done to reset the movement and equity rights to where they are beneficial for trans people?
God, I've been thinking about that for years. And there just isn't, I haven't found a way yet to shake it up and put it right. Mm-hmm. And to do that, it needs some thought. It's really hard to take a horse back in a barn after it's run away, So it makes it rather difficult to think of a way to set it right, set it on the right path, get it to be as it should have been from Stonewall. I don't know. I just don't know.
And that's valid. That is valid. So, Ms. Major, this has been an amazing conversation, and I am just so glad that, you were able to join us today and we were able to have this dialogue and folks are able to get the answers to questions, because having you in the room is just so amazing. And as a community, we are so thankful for all that you have done and all that you continue to do. And so I just want to close it out with asking you, what are some thoughts that you want to leave us with? And I always like to leave folks with not necessarily a challenge, but with some type of cue of action that they can do, to help out with the movement. So if you want to leave us with any words of encouragement or any action items that you feel that we should do, please do so.
Well, what you can do is, first of all, find an organization that you believe in, something that is in tune to what you want to do, and volunteer, work for them. Put the gloves on, honey, because you got to be prepared to fight, Donate money if you don't have the time to spend on certain things. Give your heart and soul to something that you believe in. And if this is what you believe in, definitely give yourself to it. Because without that, without true feelings involved, you can't do anything, Nothing will come avail of it, And as for the young people, get together and fight. We're getting ready to go through a very rough time of it right now. And we've got to be prepared, because we're not going back to the closet. We're never going to ever be shut up and put aside and locked away and put in the basement and told we're not there. We're going to fight. So be prepared to do that. And then do it to the best of your ability. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much. Now, I'm pretty sure if we were all in person, you would hear nothing but like snaps and claps. Because there's so many thank yous coming in the chat box. And just, thank you for so much. Every time I've been in your presence, it has been amazing. And you always leave folks feeling encouraged and empowered, which is so, so important. So thank you to our attendees. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to attend this discussion. I hope that you were able to grab some of the resources to follow up with Ms. Major's work that were put into the chat, and also that you continue to attend the events today that Equality Virginia has worked so hard to put on for us. And, as Ms. Major said, y'all, like, we have to continue fighting and, get ready because it's a rough time, and connect ourselves to resources and groups and organizations. So I just want to thank you all, and thank you again, Ms. Major, and everyone have a great rest of your day.
Thank you too, honey. I much appreciate, so thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, honey.
Bye-bye.
Okay, let's see.
Hey everyone, thank you for coming. And if you want to fill out the session evaluation, we just put that in the chat. Let us know what you liked about this event. Thanks for coming. And the event is now over, so welcome to leave, and please fill out the evaluation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for having us. I appreciate being your translator today.
Awesome sauce.
Thank you to all of our translators and interpreters.
Yes, that was amazing. I love that it was accessible to, multiple pockets of folks. Was it live on Facebook or?
No, we're recording it, and it'll be on YouTube. Yeah.
Awesome sauce. All righty, well, everyone have a great rest of their day.
Bye everyone. Thank you all for joining us. About to end the meeting. Thank you.